So I didn't understand why Chelsea were setting up in a defensive shape against PSG. It was absurd. It was ridiculous in a bad way for Chelsea to, set up in a defensive shape. After 2 nights of intense Champions League football, we saw all 6 English teams not being able to win a single game in a Champions League. Real Madrid, battering Manchester City by 3-0. Chelsea got battered by 5-2. Tottenham Hotspur got battered by Atletico Madrid 5-2. Liverpool lost at Istanbul. Arsenal also drew in their Champions League game. This is your Champions League review, the Tuesday and then the Wednesday games. This is Kobo Sports Room. My name is Kobo, and let's get straight into the video. So the Champions League round of 16 kick-started on Tuesday night, where we saw a lot of teams, fighting each other for the Champions League 2025-2026 season. Now, we are going to go through all the games. And we saw 6 English teams not winning a single game in the first leg of the Champions League round of 16. We'll talk about them. Real Madrid also, won by 3-0. We'll talk about them. But let's start from Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich won by 6-1 against Atalanta Bergamo. This game was expected. I mean, if Bayern Munich are playing Atalanta Bergamo, you know that obviously it is so clear that Bayern Munich were going to win, Atalanta. But the way and manner they did, that is what is, kind of ridiculous in a good way, because 6-0 against Atalanta in the round of 16 is mind blowing. And when you look at the way they are playing, I mean, Company is doing a good job. In as much as you will sit there and you will not give him his flowers, he is doing a really, really, really good job, because it is not easy. We saw this Bayern Munich team under Thomas Tuchel, and we have seen them under Vincent Kompany. So if they are doing this well, or they are doing brilliantly like this, I think we should big up, Vincent Kompany. Michael Olise scoring top goals. I think he scored 2 goals and then 2 assists. Nicolas Jackson scoring for Bayern Munich out there. Serge Gnabry also scored for Bayern Munich. Now, Michael Olise, I think it has been over 40 goals involvement for Bayern Munich in 37 games. This guy, Michael Olise, when Chelsea were chasing him and he eventually moved to Bayern Munich, I sat here and told you, bro, it's a good move. It's a good move because you are playing a big club. Yes, there is pressure in Bayern Munich, but there is room for you to also, grow, because you are not going to be, the main man in Bayern Munich as at that time. You are not going to be the main man in Bayern Munich. You can see a lot of wingers there. They had Serge Gnabry there. They had even Kingsley Coman as of that time. Harry Kane is there. A lot of boys are there. So you are not going to be the number one guy in Bayern Munich. So it gives you a room to learn and improve on your craft, and that is exactly what Michael Olise is doing. His performance on the night is mind blowing. It's ridiculous in a good way. So Bayern Munich 6-1 against Atalanta Bergamo. Big shout outs to them. 5-2 against Tottenham Hotspur. English team getting battered left, right, center. Now Hugo Tudor and then Leon Rosinia. What was that? Who goes into a Champions League game playing his second goalkeeper? It's absurd. It is absurd. When I saw Kimmich in the goalpost, I thought Vicario was injured, not knowing Vicario was sitting on a bench. I didn't realize that, but I was thinking Vicario was injured. But you go into a Champions League game, a big game like this, and then your first goalkeeper is sitting on the bench, and you are playing a second goalkeeper. You could clearly see that was his Champions League debut. And when you look at some of the mistakes he was doing, it was, a replica. a clear replica of what happened on the Wednesday between Chelsea and P.S.G. We'll talk about that game. I have a lot to say about that game, but that was absurd performances by Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, it wasn't expected that Tottenham will win against Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid, I mean, over the past weeks, they have been doing well. Yes, they have been doing well. Even though this season, their performances has been, subpar. It is not the Atletico Madrid we know. But against Tottenham Hotspur, a relegated, battling Tottenham Hotspur, it was expected that Atletico Madrid will win Tottenham Hotspur. But Hugo Tudor, bro, you are doing something that you need to be very careful. Tottenham has lost 6 games in a row. You came into the picture as an interim coach and you are not even proving that you deserve the job. You are doing something that your highline system is mind-blowing. I don't know what is happening. You are struggling, or you are a struggling team, and you play highline against everybody. That is unaccepted, Hugo Tudor. I think he will not complete the season, or he will not end the season for Tottenham Hotspur. I think he will be sacked along the line, because Tottenham Hotspur cannot wait and go into relegation thinking, yes, we just brought the coach in, we can't sack the coach. It is impossible for Tottenham Hotspur to go on in a relegation. So I mean, 5-2, Julian Alvarez scoring, Marcos Llorente also scoring a lot of. Julian Alvarez actually scored 2 goals. He actually scored 2 goals. I think Marcos Llorente also scored for Atletico Madrid out there. 5-2 against Tottenham Hotspur out there. Another English club getting battered here. Now 1-1 between Barcelona and the Newcastle. This game was a very, 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 very nice game. It wasn't the best Barcelona performances you could clearly we have seen over the past weeks or in this particular season. It wasn't the best Barcelona performances. Rafinha was off, Lamine Yamal was off up till he scored the penalty to equalize the goal for Barcelona. Pedri, yes, he did averagely well. I mean, it wasn't a very good Pedri performances in that particular game. So the whole Barcelona team looked off in that particular game, and that is why Newcastle should have taken their chances to score Barcelona by 3 goals margin or by 2 goals margin. Because let me tell you, you are going to Camp Nou this season. Since they moved to Camp Nou, I have not watched a Barcelona game where I saw that they lost the game. So they are sort of creating, some atmosphere in the Camp Nou, the new Camp Nou, the renovated new Camp Nou, that when you come here, you are going to lose the game. So, I mean, the performances of Newcastle, they deserve to win the game. They deserve to win the game. When you look at their midfield, it was tight. Joao Linton was doing all the dirty work. Sandro Tonelli and all of that. A lot of, works in the midfield for, Newcastle out there. Lewis Hall locked down, Lamine Yamal. He was the silencer for Lamine Yamal in that particular game. So it was a brilliant performances by Newcastle, just that they couldn't take their chances. And in the Champions League, it is moments. So if you don't take your moment, bro, that is going to come back to bite you, because it's a 2-legged, tie. So if you get your moment, especially in your home, and you don't take your chances, that is what is going to, kill you. Newcastle 1-1 in St. James's Park. It's not looking good for Newcastle, especially if you are going to Camp Nou in the second leg. It is not looking good at all for Newcastle. So ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened in the Champions League Tuesday games. Now in the Wednesday games, where we saw Bodo Glimt trashing Sporting Lisbon by 3-0. Bodo Glimt has won 5 games in a row in the Champions League. 5 games in a row for Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. It is not a shock that they are doing this. I mean, in the past 4 games, they have scored Atletico Madrid, they have scored Manchester City and Inter Milan. So it is not shocked if they score Sporting Lisbon. I will not be shocked. Even though I will be well disappointed, or I will be a bit disappointed in Sporting Lisbon for the fact that Sporting is a well-known team in the Champions League as compared to Bodo Glimt. So if you are playing against Bodo Glimt, at least you should show glimpses of wanting to do something in that particular game. But Bodo winning by 3-0. If you watch Bodo, especially in the Champions League, it is not a new thing. I mean, a team that can score Atletico Madrid, Manchester City, and Inter Milan in the Champions League, if they are scoring 3 goals to 0 against Sporting Lisbon, you shouldn't be surprised at all. So, Bodo Glimt, big congratulations to them. I think they have qualified for the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Galatasaray in Istanbul. Galatasaray in Istanbul also, winning Liverpool by 1 goal to 0. Goal scored by Lemina. Lemina scoring the goal. Victor Osimhen assisting that particular goal out there. I think this season, Galatasaray has not lost a game in Istanbul. That is how you play the Champions League. That is how you create an atmosphere in your home grounds in the Champions League. It is very important. It is very, 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 very important. So, big congratulations to Galatasaray. Yes, when this draw came, I told you that Galatasaray in this particular Champions League game should be feared because they equally have the materials to match all these European teams. Bro, they have Sani, they have, Victor Osimhen, they have all these guys out there that they are investing. Ike Gundogan, all these guys are there, they are investing in them. So they equally have good players that on any day they can match Liverpool in the Champions League. They have already scored Liverpool in Istanbul. They are home in the Champions League this season, don't forget. And they come into a round of 16 game, and they also win Liverpool in Istanbul. So Galatasaray, I think they have made a case for themselves in the second leg in Anfield. So let's see what Galatasaray will do. But big congratulations to Galatasaray. Big shout out to Victor Osimhen. Top brilliant performance by Victor Osimhen, bro. You need to come to mainstream Europe. I mean, Galatasaray is Galatasaray. No disrespect to them, but you need to come to mainstream Europe. Osimhen, bro, come to mainstream Europe. Arsenal also drawing by 1-1 against Bayern 04 Leverkusen. Bayern Leverkusen scored, I think, in the 46th minute, and then in the 89th minute, Arsenal gets a penalty. I think Madueke gets a penalty for Arsenal, and Arsenal, were able to pull one back. That was a very good way to get, 1 goal away in Bayern 04 Leverkusen. It was expected that Arsenal would win this particular game, but Bayern 04 Leverkusen also showed character in that particular game against Arsenal. They showed character. They were able to defend well. They were able to attack, as a group, defend as a group, and they were not afraid of Arsenal. Arsenal are arguably one of the best teams in Europe right now. One of the best teams in Europe right now, with Bayern Munich, but Leverkusen were not afraid to take the ball to Arsenal, and that is what you need in a Champions League. You don't have to be afraid that you are playing a big team. You still need to take the ball to the big team if you have the chance. So a last minute goal scored by Kai Havertz, that was a lifeline for Arsenal, even though I still believe Bayern 04 Leverkusen are going to go out. But that is again another English team not being able to win their game in the Champions League. Chelsea got battered 5 goals in Parc des Princes against P.S.G. This particular game, I mean, when the game started, Chelsea were setting up in a defensive shape, and the P.S.G, we know, if you are playing against them and you set up in a defensive shape, they are going to play their game, because when you leave the ball for P.S.G to play, they are going to kill you. So I didn't understand why Chelsea were setting up in a defensive shape against P.S.G. It was absurd. It was ridiculous in a bad way for Chelsea to, set up in a defensive shape against P.S.G in Parc des Princes. It was absurd. In a club, even if you are not doing anything, take something from the Club World Cup. Take something from the Club World Cup. Chelsea were pressing by P.S.G. Chelsea were, going all out against P.S.G in the Club World Cup final. So learn reason here. Even if you are delusional, take something from the Club World Cup. Just pick the tactics, duplicate it in that particular game, and you are good to go. But you set up in a defensive shape. Now, when Bakola scored the first goal, we saw Chelsea coming out from their shells. We saw Chelsea attacking P.S.G and the Chelsea getting the first goal by Gusto. By the way, it was a brilliant performance by Gusto. I think along the defense, or all the defenders, he was the most brilliant defender on the night. Chaloba was off in a game. Fofana was off in a game. What was he doing in that particular Dembele goal? Bro, it was upset. Now, who goes into a Champions League round of 16 playing their second goalkeeper? I mean, asem na aye aba. Asem na aba, bro. How do you downgrade from Enzo Maresca to Leon Rossini? How do you become a Chelsea coach when you cannot win big teams? How do you survive as a Chelsea coach when you cannot win big teams? Because Chelsea live for the big teams. Chelsea live for the big games. So if you are a Chelsea coach and you cannot win big games, I'm sorry, you cannot call Chelsea. In which world do you sack Enzo Maresca and you bring a downgrade of Enzo Maresca? Now, I am not here to sort of, blame Philip Jorgensen for all these, mistakes. In my opinion, he shouldn't be there in the first place. Since when did Philip Jorgensen started big games for Chelsea? Bro, and when we closed the game and the post-match press conference for Leon Rossini, he said something that mistakes are bound to happen. He made a mistake. It doesn't mean he's not a good goalkeeper. Bro, Robert Sanchez also made a mistake in the Arsenal game. It didn't mean he was a bad goalkeeper. In my opinion, that 5 goals, especially in the third goal and in the 5th goal that scored Philip Jorgensen, Robert Sanchez could have done better, because we saw him in the Club World Cup final where he did better in that particular game. In a game where you saw Enzo Fernandez telling the goalkeeper what to do, how do you see your player being pressed by a P.S.G team and you pass the ball to Latvia? What was that? So I am not going to blame him, because I think that he shouldn't be there in the first place. But he was there because of the pride of the coach. You don't start your second goalkeeper in a big game like this whilst he's not up for the task. Bro, it's mind blowing, But 5 goals to 2 against Chelsea, in my opinion, it is done. It is done. There is nothing we can do. To be honest, there is absolutely nothing we can do, but we are not taking away from P.S.G. They did really, really well. Now, Peter Kvaratskhelia was benched by Luis Enrique, was a tool for Luis Enrique, because he knew very well that Peter Kvaratskhelia coming from the bench was going to be a big tool for him. Fair play to Luis Enrique. Peter Kvaratskhelia came from the bench and he scored 2 goals for P.S.G. He won the man of the match for P.S.G. That was a big tool, and you saw the first goal by Peter Kvaratskhelia. Top goal. That was a bullet by Peter Kvaratskhelia. So that is what happened in the Chelsea game. 5 goals to 2 against Chelsea. Big performances for P.S.G. I think they have qualified for the quarterfinals in the Champions League. Now the big game of the night, Real Madrid versus Manchester City. 3 goals to 0 against Manchester City. Manchester City getting battered in the Santiago Bernabeu. Federico Valverde getting a hat-trick for Real de Madrid. Now Real Madrid on any day, I said it on Ajor Talks Football, that it is Real Madrid. And yesterday, if you really watch the game, that wasn't even the best Real Madrid team. I mean, we didn't have Alvaro Carreras, we didn't have, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham wasn't there. A lot of boys were injured in that Real Madrid setup. But Real Madrid still found a way to win this Manchester City 3 goals to 0 in the Santiago Bernabeu. Obviously, it is not the best Manchester City team, but over the past weeks they have been doing well. Their performances has been good. They have they improved their team by getting McGahey, they getting Antoine Semenyo and then the like. So they improved their team in the January transfer window. But this is not the best Manchester City team. But Real Madrid either. This wasn't also the best Real Madrid team either. In fact, the Real Madrid team was a weaker Real Madrid side as compared to the Manchester City side. But in a Champions League night where nothing is expected from Real Madrid, that is where they come out from their shells and then they show the world something, that they are the kings of the Champions League. And lo and behold, they scored 3 goals against Manchester City in the Champions League round of 16, first leg in the Santiago Bernabeu. Now, Federico Valverde will pick him up. Yesterday he played out of position, but he was able to get a hat-trick for Real Madrid. He was able to give Real Madrid some kind of belief that they are going to do it. In my opinion, I think they are out. Manchester City are out. In my opinion, Manchester City are out. Newcastle are out. Chelsea are out, and then Tottenham Hotspur are out. I think the team that can do something for England is Arsenal and Liverpool. I think they have a slight chance to qualify for the quarterfinal in the Champions League. Ladies and gentlemen, drop all your comment down below. Look, what do you think about the Champions League? Drop all your comment down below. Let me know your comment. This is Cole's Post Room, and this has been your Champions League review. Thank you so much for your time. Take care of yourselves, and peace.